Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Publishing for Professionals podcast. Today, I have a book blueprint episode, and I'm super excited to have my guest on today. He's going to ask me some questions about writing and publishing, and he just recently published a book this past June. But before we jump into that, I wanted to remind you that if you are on listening to Publishing for Professionals, make sure that you rate and review the show and to make sure that you follow Publishing for Professionals on your favorite podcast player. Today, my guest is Brad Elder. He's a licensed attorney in the state of Texas and a champion captain of the Chili Dipper. He's an avid golfer and enjoys playing racquetball, hunting, fishing, and a beer, but not at the same time. And so Brad's life goals are to be favored by God, be a great father, husband, and to write a few interesting novels, and to also be a very fine cart partner. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest today, Brad Elder. Brad, welcome to the Publishing for Professionals show.
Thank you, Lynn. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on today to ask some questions because I know a lot of people, especially new authors, have a lot of questions about writing and publishing. And I know you have put out I believe it's your first book this past June, correct?
It is, yes. It's called Recoil of Justice. It's a thriller, action thriller novel. Put it out in June, and it was quite the process being a self-publisher. But there's help out there you can get.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us just a little bit before you come in with the questions. Tell us a little bit about your book for people that are maybe interested in buying it, and we'll talk about where people can find that at the end of the show.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. I love reading the thriller novels. Writing one, it was never on my bucket list. I don't have a creative writing degree. I was a business major and then went to law school. I've written a lot of things, but never for anyone else's enjoyment, I would say. So, but as I was reading a novel a couple of years ago, I just had this thought that I think I can do this, and I'm going to try it. But all the great protagonists, and they're fantastic. You always kind of meet them later down their line when their foundation has been laid already. And I wanted a character that you were introduced from the beginning of when he started to gain these skills and knowledge of how to be a great action protagonist. Right, my protagonist Ryan Wolf is a lawyer. He's an everyday guy, but he's thrust into a situation which I always wondered when I read those great books. What would I do if I was thrust into the situation that they're in? And probably go screaming and running out of the room is what I would do, but I'm not going to write about that. So I wanted him to be a regular guy, caught in the middle of a lawsuit. It starts out as a lawsuit as in the center of the book, and he is a lawyer. But I wanted him to. I wanted the readers to be able to grow with him as he grows throughout this process. And in the lawsuit, as the onion gets peeled back, there's a tremendous amount of corporate espionage, theft, and some really sinister plots behind this artificial intelligence software and tool, and which can be great in the right hands, but could be devastating in the wrong hands. And the story goes through how he uncovers that with some help and what he does in the situation that he's found himself in. I don't want to spoil it, to spoil anything, but he grows a tremendous amount during the book.
Very cool. Yes, and with any good fiction book with a character, you want them to grow, right? Because it's not interesting
Right.
if your character just stays the same throughout the whole
Right.
book.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
That's right. Yes.
Perfect. So tell me, what's your first question about writing and publishing? And it can be about a future book or it can be about the book that you've already published.
So, when I first started the process, you think, do I want to find an agent and a publisher? Do I want to self-publish? Obviously, we're all probably going down the self-publishing route. I think there's a tremendous amount of positives about that. I think there's a tremendous amount of positives about traditional publishing as well. But for me, this felt like the best avenue. But I had all these questions in the beginning because I'm not a writer. I've never had never published anything before. I don't have any publishing background. So my question was, do you do it all your own? There is some help out there. Do you find one of the hybrid publishers, as I think they're kind of called, who say we can do it all, we're turnkey, we do it all for you, or do you strike out on your own completely?
Yeah, so there's depending on what you want, you can choose obviously different avenues. I usually recommend for people to self-publish their first book, and the reason I always usually recommend that is because um, just in the time you're going to spend in getting like a hybrid publisher or traditional publisher, it's going to take you 3 to 5 years to publish with a hybrid or traditional publisher, where it could take you a year and a half to publish by
Right.
self-publishing. So the time constraint is much shorter if you're self-publishing, because you can get it done faster. You don't have to wait for
Very
people
much.
approving you and doing the process and pitching all those letters to people and then getting the 100 no's before you finally get somebody who's going to say yes.
Right.
So that's one of the things I really recommend people go with self-publishing. And the other is that some people do want like to have a traditional publisher or a hybrid publisher publish their book. And so if that's a route you do want to go, you can go that route, but there are a lot of things that you need to prepare yourself for, like writing up your proposal and like, do you want to get an agent or not? So there's a lot of considerations just within those decisions. And, if you want to get an agent, that's another expense that you have to, pay for and things like that. But the one thing I do always recommend to people, even if you're self-publishing, is always, always, always pay a really good editor, a really good line editor to edit your book, and a developmental editor. Because without professional editing, your book is not going to look professional. Like it's just going to look like someone wrote it who wasn't a writer. So even if you're
Right.
not a writer, you can still write a really awesome published book, but you always want to get a professional editor to edit your work.
Yeah. Are you reading my notes? Because that was my next question. And that's
I
the most
cannot see your
daunting.
notes.
That's the most daunting part for me was, you know, I'm decent at grammar, I'm decent at spelling, and but we're all going to make mistakes in the process. And where do you suggest going to find those good editors?
Yeah, so there's a couple places I always refer people to find good editors. Now, it doesn't mean that like every editor on this platform is going to be good, but
Right.
many of the editors on these platforms are going to be good because they're professional, they're professionally trained. So one is Readsy, which is a big platform, and you'll get more people. You'll get people. All the people on Readsy have worked for the big five publishers. So in some aspect. And then the other one, you can also find really good people that are professionally trained to edit your book, is called EFA. So that's the Editorial Freelancers Association, and I'm a part of that membership. And so you can find a lot of different editors on EFA as well. So you just literally write in what you're looking for, and then you post it on the job board, and it will automatically email all the editors who do those types of work, and then those people can reply back to you and tell you a little bit more about themselves and maybe some pricing or however they're going to move forward. So those are the two platforms I recommend. I don't recommend people going on Upwork or Fiverr to find an editor,
Right.
because every time I have like literally re-edited a client's book, they usually have found somebody on Fiverr or Upwork, because typically you don't know what you're getting on Fiverr or Upwork. Like there's no like not referral, but
Vetting
there's no
process.
vetting. Right,
Right.
exactly. Whereas Readsy and EFA, they do vetting before they put you on the platform.
Yeah, I was able to find a really good developmental editor on Readsy, and good marketing professional. Build your website. You can get a tremendous amount of great resources on Readsy. I've not tried EFA, but I've heard great things about them. So, yeah, thank you for this. So, all right, you've written your book, you've got it edited, you're ready to roll. Another thing I would suggest, and I'm not trying to still get thunder here, have a great cover, and you can find good
Yes.
cover artists on Readsy as well. You have to have a good cover. I judge a book by its cover. Most readers judge a book by its cover. So spend the money on editing, spend the money on a good cover. But once you've got all that, you've got a book that you feel really good about, ready to go. As a self published author, now you got to get it to the marketplace, right? So the
Yes.
big question: do you go wide, or do you go Amazon exclusive? What
So,
would be
so
your
that
suggestion there?
Right. Yeah, that again depends on like what your purposes of your book, like what you want to do with it. So, if you are well, obviously, we always want to sell more books, right? So, I always say you definitely want it on Amazon because Amazon 80% of books are sold on Amazon. But you can also distribute to libraries, to bookstores, to like airport bookstores, things like that. Um, I just like literally flew on an airplane last week, and I'm like, why am I calling it airplane bookstore? Anyway, so you can do those things, but all those things have obviously they're time consuming. There's drawbacks. There's benefits to certain ones. Local independent bookstores are another thing like is in opposed to like a Barnes and Noble or a big box bookstore. And so all of the little bookstores have their own process for getting, applying to put your book in that store. And I always recommend to people just reach out to the independent bookstore
Yeah.
individually and say like, hey, this is my book. Like, I have a book I would like to put in your bookstore. Like, please let me know, like, instructions on how do I apply to put my book in your bookstore, basically. And because every independent bookstore is different, just like every big box store is a little bit different. And one of the things that is a benefit, obviously, you're getting wider distribution if you put it in independent bookstores or a bigger bookstore. However, some of the bookstores, and these are more the bigger box stores, like if you don't sell your book, like say they buy 12 books and they only sell 3 or 4 of them. Well, you have the choice of either buying and shipping back those books or they destroy them. So there's not a lot of profit to be made in a big box store unless you are someone who has like a really large mailing list and or someone who's like a really big public figure where people are going to look at your book or look for your book in a big box store. So that's something to consider as well. I would always recommend putting your book in a library, and a really great way to do that is through Draft to Digital. So they're a book distributor that they specialize in ebooks. And so you can distribute your ebook and also your paperback and your audiobook through Draft to Digital to libraries. And so that obviously gets your book into, you sell more copies of your book, but it also gets it into more hands and gets more viewership because you're at a library. So that's another consideration to make. And those aren't really hard to get into library. It does take some time, but once a library has your book, if it gets checked out a lot, they're more likely to buy other copies of your book. And they're relatively easy to deal with the library system because they have a very straightforward process of it, like submitting it to your library. And so that's another thing you can choose. Another one is like specialty and gift stores. So if your book would like apply to a specialty or gift store, or someone who would shop there would like your book, especially if it's like a local book, like if you have a local niche book for your town and then you have local gift shops at your town, that's a really great, obviously, outlet because people who are walking into the specialty stores, a lot of them are probably going to be tourists, or at least half of them. And
Mhm.
so people would be looking for something like that in a specialty store. So depending on your market and who you want to sell to, putting it on different platforms is always a good idea. Like there's also like Book Hub and some other smaller like digital platforms you can put it on. However, I always recommend people, no matter what, always publish your book on Amazon. You can because you get the most exposure there. Also, you can also publish your book. Obviously, you can sell it on your own website, but you cannot
Right.
sell it on your own website if you have an Amazon ISBN, because Amazon ISBNs, which are the free ISBNs, are proprietary to Amazon only. So if you do use an Amazon ISBN, which I do not recommend, I always recommend people go on my identifiers and then purchase the 10 pack because you need one ISBN for every format of your book. So you need one for the audiobook, one for your ebook, one for your print book. And if you have a hardcover, you need one for your hardcover. So there's 4 right there.
Right.
So, and especially if you plan on publishing more than one book, always buy the 10 pack because it's much more economical to buy the 10 pack of ISBNs. So, but if you have an Amazon ISBN, you cannot buy your book and sell it yourself. Like if you're a speaker, you can't buy your book and like 100 copies of your book and go to a speaking engagement and sell it. You can't
Right.
sell your own book at any tables or anything like that. You can only sell it on Amazon. So that's why I recommend to people to buy your own independent ISBN.
Okay, very good. Now I've had some going back to the local bookstore angle. A lot of local bookstores are looking for, obviously they want people in the door. So if you offer to do a book signing or something of that nature, a lot of times they'll buy a few of your books, put it on the shelf, and that gets people into their store. It gets you access to readers who may not know you, and it also gets traffic for the bookstore. So that's another really good reason for going to a local bookstore versus a big box bookstore, which is quite difficult to get in to do a book signing with them. So
Absolutely, yeah.
so if you get your ISBN from not from Amazon, can you still go exclusive on Amazon?
Yeah, and that's a great question. We're actually going to take a little break right here, and I'm going to have you re-ask me that when we come back, and then I'll answer that after the break. So let's take a little break right here, my friends, and then we will come back and follow up with Brad's question right after the break. Okay, we are back with Brad Elder. He's a published author and he has an awesome fiction thriller book out that we're going to talk about more at the end of this episode. But so, Brad, re ask your question again that you just asked right before the break so people can get a refresher on what we were asked, what the question was.
Absolutely. If you get your ISBN number not from Amazon, can you still go exclusive on Amazon?
Yes, so you can purchase your own ISBN and still go to exclusive on Amazon. You just have to check off the box that says you want to go exclusive on Amazon. And so the benefit of going exclusive on Amazon is Amazon gives you a little bit more royalties if you go exclusive on Amazon. But if you do go exclusive on Amazon, then you cannot sell your book through other distributors such as any of the box stores, any independent sellers. Um, Although I think I'm not sure on the independent seller ones, but I know you won't be able to if you do go exclusive on Amazon, you won't be able to post it on your own website and sell it like individually like that as well. So that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, I think the only thing they've relaxed, and that's recently, is you can put them in libraries now if you're,
Yes.
going on KU or Amazon exclusive. So, okay, let's say like me, I went through Ingram Sparks to do my print books. I do want to go Amazon, try out going KU now, Kindle Unlimited. Do I have to when I'm signing up for KDP? Do I need to re-download everything for them, the PDF version along with the cover, and go through that process again, along with the EPUB version? Do I have to redo everything to go directly with KDP?
Okay, so I think I know what you're asking. So if you when you signed up with Ingram Spark and you because Ingram Spark also you can publish through Ingram Spark to Amazon. So if you've
Correct.
already published through Ingram Spark to Amazon, then no, you don't have to like redo your Amazon account because it's already published on Amazon. You can actually still, I'm pretty sure you could still order author copies from Amazon because your KDP account and your bookshelf they'll be on there. There should be an option to also order them from Amazon if you wanted to do that as well. But yeah, you don't have to redo it because it's already set up on Amazon. As long as you set that up with your initial thing with Ingram Spark, it should be there on Amazon, so you don't have to redo that laying out and putting it up on Amazon again.
Okay, very good. So obviously, we have the book on Amazon now, or wherever we put it. How are people going to find out about this thing? Because
Yes,
there's
and
like
so
40 million books on Amazon or something of that nature. How do you go about getting the word out to the marketplace?
yes, that's a great question. So a lot of people obviously use their own email list, right? Because that's the first thing
Mhm.
people go to. And then some people post on social media, like whatever platform that they're on, like whether that's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. And so obviously having a really good book marketing campaign is essential to getting the word out about your book so people know it's out there and that they can buy it. Another thing you can do obviously is Amazon ads. Like I know some people, spend like they have a set budget for their Amazon ads every month so that they can sell more books because when you have an Amazon ad, Amazon anytime someone's searching for your genre of book, it will put it at the top and it will say sponsored so people know it's an ad. But it gets more eyeballs on your book. So the more eyeballs on your book, obviously, the more chances you have of people buying it. Because without an Amazon ad, you're just relying on whatever the algorithm is, and they're always going to
Right.
put the sponsored books at the top.
And no one knows what that algorithm is either. We can
Right?
all
I don't
guess.
think people at Amazon know what that algorithm is.
I
I
don't
think
think
it's
so.
got a life of
Only a
its
select
own.
few.
I
Maybe
have,
only the algorithm knows what the algorithm is. Who
right?
knows?
I know. I have not figured out any part of that algorithm at all.
I just published my audiobook as well. Went through Audible, ACX, I believe it's called, to do
Hmm.
that. Are there any specific marketing campaigns for audiobooks that you would suggest that are different than your print or ebook?
Oh, that's a great question. I know there are certain platforms where people listen to audiobooks more. Like I know, obviously, on Audible and things like that, you can run ads for your book on Audible, I believe, and like other audiobook listening platforms. So that would be an option, obviously, running an ad. But as far as like general book, I would say I know there's like book was it Goodreads and BookBub and things like that. So there are some different platforms. If you find out like what platforms, like I know Goodreads is just general reading, but I know there are some platforms also that people are more listening to audiobooks on. And I know there's like Facebook groups of people who like to listen to audiobooks and things like that. But I know also like they probably don't. I don't know if like some groups may or may not allow you to like pitch your book on there.
Self promote. Right.
Right, yeah. But another thing you can do too is I know when I did my audiobook, they ACX offers you like so many free giveaways for your
Yes.
audiobook. So you can
Yes.
actually use that as a contest, as like a contest form or something like that and
Mhm.
say like, hey, if you download this lead magnet, you get a chance to, get a chance to win my audiobook. Something like that you could do. But yeah, like you just have to find where people are listening to audiobooks and or the genre of book that you listen to. And if you can find a group of people that love audiobooks and thriller audiobooks, then you're set. Like that's a great place to market.
So you mentioned BookBub, you mentioned Goodreads. How vital are those to your success? And I know in each you can, like I know that on Goodreads, the giveaway program when you give offer a giveaway of signed book, I've had real good success with the amount of entrants and added to their to read bookshelf is what it's called. Um, so that and those are the two big ones out there, right? Are there any
Hmm.
others that you see that are growing that are, hey, look out for this one?
Yeah, I've tried some different platforms with a few of my books. I didn't get a lot of feedback. And again, it may have been just I wasn't consistent enough with it as well because I like Goodreads a lot because I know it's one of the most popular ones. But I mean, I know there are some others out there that are specific to specific genres. So I would say if you find one of those like Goodreads, but it's specifically for your genre, definitely get on it. I just haven't done a lot of looking in the fictions area because I'm mostly focused on nonfiction.
Sure.
But definitely get out and just check it out and see, like, Google up like what are book clubs for thriller fiction books and see what pops up. And then just like go, I always recommend that people go in that group as like a reader to see like how people are
Right.
interacting, things like that, before you make them the financial investment of like putting money into an ad and things like that.
Yeah, I've had some success on. I believe it's the parent website is called Written Word, I believe, but it's
Hmm.
Bargain Booksy, Free Booksy. Those things are kind of cool to get and it's really not that expensive to get the word out there. Book Sweeps is another one. You can enter your book into they're going to do a giveaway. Let's say they offer in my genre 10 great uh, books, usually from independent authors like myself, but they'll also put in like a Frida McFadden book or something like that as the
Right.
hook where people have heard of. But you get along with that, you're able to collect their email addresses, which you can't on Goodreads and you can't on BookBub, and you certainly cannot on Amazon. And to an independent author, that email is vital to ongoing success, in at least in my opinion, because if Amazon changes the rules, which they're prone to do, or if they stop selling books, you may have thousands of readers out there and you have absolutely no clue who they are. However, if you've got that email address, and again, there's some really good ways to do that. If you've got that email address, then you do have a way to connect with them. You
Yes.
show your personality. There's only so much you can show on an Amazon page or your author page. So, those are to me have been some of the better sites out there that you can collect email addresses and offer your whoever's signing up something of value as well. You don't want to just say, "Hey, sign up for," like you tell all your buddies, "Hey, I'm going to send you an email. You need to sign up for this." You know, we all have those that we did, but there's also others out there who other sites out there, and those are the two best that I've found. To be able to collect those email addresses. Then once you have those, obviously you can build a platform from there, and which leads me to my second point. Obviously, Kickstarter is a huge platform. It's become an even bigger platform in publishing. Would you have, and this may be an unfair question, would you have an idea how many email addresses or how many contacts you need in your mailing list to really think about doing a Kickstarter campaign? Because that's really where most of your uh, people are going to come from who know you well enough to go, okay, I'm going to give you 20, 30, 50, $100, whatever it is to be a part of this.
Yeah, I don't think you have to have a certain amount of like emails for that. I think you have to have like a good following and you have to have people who like are really highly interested in whatever it is that you're writing. So Kickstarter is a great place to raise money for your book. There's another platform also I worked with Danielle Desir. It's called Grants for Creators, and so this platform specifically is she curates all these different types of grants for all sorts of creatives. So like artists, writers, podcasters, screenwriters, like you name it. She has a grant that she has probably curated and put on her list. And so that's another great way to find
Okay.
money for your project. So if you can find a grant on her list that is like, geared towards what you're doing and what a grantor wants to give money to, that's a great way to get money for your project as well. As you can go on Grants for Creators and write a grant for your book. I actually have a client right now who's doing that. He's looking for grants to get grant money to fund his book.
Yeah, because it's not an insignificant amount of money to publish a book, especially when it comes to how much you're going to spend on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody I talk to, unless you catch lightning in a bottle, especially in the fiction world, unless you catch lightning in a bottle, you need two or three books really to make much money. And main reason is that lead magnet, that hook that you want to get. And you mentioned lead magnet earlier. I'm assuming everyone knows what lead magnet is, but if you could kind of explain what you're talking about there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So lead magnet, for people who do not know, is a basically it's a freebie or a giveaway that you give somebody in exchange for their email address. And if you don't know what it is, you've probably already signed up for one. So for example, like if you have said, if someone has offered you like, oh, here's a self-publishing checklist, put your information in here and you give them your name and your email. And then they automatically pops up or they email it to you. And then you can download that PDF for your self-publishing checklist. So that's what a lead magnet is. And it doesn't have to be a checklist. It can be an ebook. It can be a freebie course. It can be a video. It can be whatever. It can be a lot of different free things. But typically it's something that's electronic, that's easy to deliver. And it's not going to be like one-on-one time or a live work. Sometimes it's a live workshop, but usually it's going to be some kind of freebie that you can just easily download digitally from on your computer.
Very good. And so I've started my second novel of the series, and I'm probably a little over half. Well, I've got a little more than half the words on paper. That doesn't mean I'm halfway finished yet. But how much time after your novel publishes would you say you need? Because as independent authors, we want to get out that next book, get out that next book. How much time would you say? No, put the manuscript aside for a little bit and really focus on marketing your first book.
I would say because what I recommend to people is ideally you want to start marketing your first book 3 months before you publish it. So if you do start 3 months before you publish it, then you have more of a cadence, and then you can like jump into your next book the next year. So if you can, and this is like a really tight kind of really efficient cadence, publish like one book per year, and then
Mhm.
maybe after you publish that book spend like 3 months, another 3 months marketing it. So if you spend 3 months for that first year marketing your book before you publish it, and then 3 months afterward, you can obviously still do some more marketing campaign, but you can also start on your second book while you're working on marketing your first book still, and then just keep that cycle going, like from book to book. Now, that is pretty time consuming. You will probably need to pay somebody to help you with that cadence because there's a lot
Right.
of work to do in that, but that is a possibility.
And Lynn, switching gears a little bit,
Mhm.
obviously artificial intelligence is a topic in pretty much every industry, and it's a very much a topic in the publishing world as well. Some of it is very taboo.
Mhm.
If you're using an AI or a large language model to write your books for you, it's pretty taboo. However, there's a tremendous amount of uses, whether it be your processes, whether it be your marketing, things like that. Can you talk about that a little bit? And if not asking if you're using it, but get some suggestions for folks and maybe clarify the word AI in publishing. And it doesn't mean that necessarily, I hope it doesn't mean it's writing your book for you, but kind of clarify that for some people.
Yeah, yeah. So AI, obviously artificial intelligence, a lot of people have heard about it. It is not going to take over every job in the world as opposed to like what some people think. And
Hmm.
I know that because sometimes I ask Siri to play a playlist and she can't even get that right. So I'm like, if she can't even get my playlist request right, how is she going to take over my job? So anyway, but again, obviously, there are some shifts in the workplace because of AI, but for writing specifically, what I tell people is you don't want to use AI to write your book because there's a huge copyright issue with that. Like you don't want to. I've seen people like literally copy and paste stuff from AI into their book, and I'm like, no, that's a really bad idea because
Yeah.
it's a copyright issue, but you're also taking someone else's work and using it, and I know a lot of people wouldn't want that done to them. So what I tell people, a good AI is a tool. We have to look at it as a tool and like what are the good tool applications to use that we can use it to get our work done a little faster. So one tool you can use AI for publishing with is if you have your book written and you put your book into AI and say, hey, write me up a really good Amazon description for my fiction book. It's a thriller. And then you can
Yeah.
put a little description in it, right? That's fine because you're using your own work and putting it into AI for the model.
Right.
But what I don't recommend is using AI to directly write your book. Another example,
No,
using it
me
as a
neither.
tool would be if you're like having a hard time coming up with a chapter title. So you put the chapter of a book in AI and say, please give me some chapter title suggestions for this chapter of my book, and it will come up with a bunch. And usually if I do that for one of my books, I will pick and choose from different pieces of titles to make
Right.
one title that I like.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm seeing a lot of experts out there use it for their processes, for their they'll allow an artificial intelligence tool to you know s- because marketing can be very time consuming.
Yes.
Yeah, you can set up a system that will do it for you. I say do it with your initial direction anyway, and it's almost like a scheduling is what it boils down to. So, I do think it has its application in our world. I do not think it has its application getting words on paper. And it feels like I can always tell when someone's written an email using AI. It just feels cold. And
Yes.
in our world, fiction's not cold, or it shouldn't be anyway. So I just got back from BoucherCon in New Orleans, and that was a big topic. Some people will almost fight you over it.
Right.
It's such a hot topic, but just use correctly and really do your research on that one if you're gonna use it as an application. But it has very useful tools. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it is definitely useful as a tool. Well, Brad, this has been fabulous coming on. Thank you for asking such great questions. And
You bet.
please let my listeners know where they can find your book and where they can learn more about you as an author.
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon. Recoil of Justice, or you can go directly to my website, and there's a link on my website to the Amazon page. It's bradeldernovels.com. That's BRADELDER novels.com. Or follow me on my social media pages on Instagram, brad.elder.novels, or on Facebook at Brad Elder Novels. So
Awesome. Sounds
yeah,
good.
they'll be able to catch up with me and learn a little bit more about me and hopefully learn a little bit more about my book and hopefully enjoy it.
Perfect. Well, we will definitely put all those links in the show notes, which is right underneath the episode for people that are new to the show. And Brad, thank you again so much for coming on and doing a book blueprint episode with me today. This was really great. And I know my guests got a lot of really good, valuable information from it.
Well, I hope so, and thank you for having me.